LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return,
But I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Hey there, this is Wythe Marshall from the Stillfleet Studio. We put together a little podcast called Why We Roll, and now we're very proud to be part of the network Podderation. So if you're listening to one of Podderation's other great shows, and you're interested in TTRPGs specifically, that's tabletop role-playing games, you might be interested in our show. Why We Roll is all about how you make TTRPGs, what makes them fun, different kinds of stories you can tell with TTRPGs, and even the business, so the practical advice side. So if any of that sounds appealing, whether you're a GM, you want to design your homebrew game, or you're interested in getting in the industry, why don't you head over to Why We Roll, check us out. We really, really appreciate it, and keep making awesome stuff.
Welcome to Board Gamers Anonymous, the podcast where everyone's welcome at the table, but of course, as always, no one knows whose turn it is. This is Chris.
Hey, and this is Anthony.
And this is episode 573, March Gamer Madness. We're talking about the Best Mechanics Bracket Final Rounds. We like to thank all our Patreon backers for helping us bring you a brand new episode. Hey friends, we're back. And we're mad. Not really, but we're crazy. We're not angry.
Mad, crazy. Where are you going with this? We'll see how it.
We're kind of mad about certain things and kind of crazy about other things. But
that is true. It is. If you listen to the podcast, you know that we are occasionally mad about things.
Yes, we are.
That we quickly move past, but we are mad about them.
Yes, we staked a claim to the madness, both the anger and the craziness, and I think that's a healthy thing, Anthony. I think a lot of people don't think about that, you know.
No, yeah, it's good to know. It's good to be in touch with your feelings about the world. And
it's true.
Games, mostly games. We're talking
mostly
about games.
Well, if you're not feeling mad on some level of madness, then you're not paying attention, and it's probably your turn. I'm just saying.
I was at a game night the other night, and one of the guys there, he's only been gaming since like December. And he pulled the, is it, whose turn is it? And I was like, if you have to ask, it's you. And he was just like, well, I mean, I don't know. I'm like, it's just his turn of phrase, man. It's okay. I wasn't trying to insult you.
That's funny. Well, it's like when you ever play like games that have like Mancala mechanics or some other thing where you have to do like a big bunch of movements. And then of course someone takes their turn and then moves the state of the board, which now screws you because you had a whole idea planned out. You were holding it in your head. And then the next person goes and you're trying to recalibrate everything. And then they do a thing and you're like, all right, so I'm going to do this now. And then by the time it gets to you, you're like, you actually have to take a move. And you're like, I just spent 15 minutes really trying to be very present to the board state and like make a plan. And it changed each and every time until it got back around to me again. Those games are frustrating to say the least.
They are, yeah. I try to always be like ready with like, this is my move, and if this gets messed up, this is my move. But I will not go beyond like those 2, maybe 3.
Sure.
Like if we're playing a game with like 5 or 6 people, like Twilight Imperium, I'm always paying attention.
Yeah.
But I don't make a plan until it gets back to me because there's no point. I'm like, cool, I was going to do that, or I was going to do that, or I was going to do that, and now I can't do that. All right, what am I going to do?
That's true.
That's why that game takes 10 hours.
That's true. And it's, you know, everyone does it. Everyone takes back their turn from time to time or needs to redo something. But like when you have that stuff in your head, you're holding it in your head and they're like, all right, my turn. And you like start moving the things like, can I do that back? You're like, my brain. Just like hit the emergency brake.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. So yeah, world's a little bit mad, and so is tabletop gaming. So as we mentioned, for this week, March Gamer Madness Best Mechanics Bracket, we are taking one final turn to take a look at, as always, the latest and greatest in game mechanics. These are the things that make games run. These are the things that make games fun. These are the things that make these game creators, artisans, geniuses, because they've been able to put so many fun, different ways on typically what would be a very straightforward, boring game, and add a twist to it. And thankfully, none of these mechanics are trademarked, so you could use these too.
That's true. It's true. You are free to use any of these that you like.
Yeah, go make a game and make it based on the best gaming mechanics and tell someone we sent you there, because these are the best. All right, Anthony. So we are on to the next round. Why don't you let us know where we are and start us off?
Yeah. So if you're listening to this episode and for whatever reason did not listen to the last episode,
oh boy,
well, welcome. First off,
go back.
Yeah, but also go back. This is part 2. So we ran through last.
The bracket strikes back.
The bracket strikes back. We're doing it. So last week we ran through all 64 of these mechanics. We had the region of worker and action focus games,
sure,
card and deck focus, area control and strategy, and thematic and conflict.
Ooh.
And so we narrowed that down to 32 mechanics, and this week we will go through all 32 and pick a winner.
The winner is gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna be the greatest mechanic of all time.
I hope so. Otherwise, what are we doing?
We're gonna have to get rid of all of our games that don't have that mechanic now.
Yeah. Occasionally we do it in these brackets and we get to the end. I'm like, this is the best. Is it the best of all time?
It is
brackets
the best.
Are weird.
Yeah. Brackets
are weird.
they're mad. That's literally in the title, man. They're mad.
Yeah, that's true. Madness. That is true.
They're very
although if on the basketball side, it's a bunch of 1 seeds versus 2 seeds typically. But
it's true, with the exception of the half court shot and something just pulls it out.
Yeah. I mean, that's still a 2 seed, but they did beat the 1 seed.
It's true. Still a big thing.
Yeah, no, that was great. My wife just like jumped off the couch. She's like, "What is happening?" Scared our daughter. It was funny. All right, back to the games. We're going to talk about, first up, worker and action focused mechanics. We have 8 remaining. We're going to whittle it down here to 4. We'll do that for each of the regions, and then we'll keep going down until we have a final 4, then a final 1.
Ooh.
So, first up, we have number 1, worker placement. Good old-fashioned worker placement of all types. Versus number 8, area movement. So we've got kind of a more classical Euro style versus a little bit more dudes on a map style.
Yeah. Kind of dudes. So it's one dude versus multiple dudes, and they're just moving to spots, but...
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, obviously both very good. I mean, worker placement is kind of the standard as far as like how you typically do things. I think most gamers or even game designers, like that's typically the thing that you try to do first, right? Like I just activate a spot, I push a button on a thing. But then again, war games have been around forever, so moving from one area to another makes a lot of sense. So these are, again, I know they're not necessarily the 1 and 2 seed, the 1 and number 8 seed, but these are the big hitters, I think, just classically, historically.
Yeah.
So
it's the 2 ways you'd move a meeple, basically.
It's 2 ways you move the meeple. I guess for the sake of the madness in the world, man, like I'm gonna go with workers because workers unite.
Yes.
And maybe a little less, troop movement. I'm just saying. All right. I'm just saying, like a little bit less.
I love the mindset. I was thinking strictly mechanics, but I also agree on that. So yeah, worker move placement for sure.
Yeah, worker placement moves on to the next round.
All right. Next up, number 5, action queue versus number 4, action points.
No one expected this matchup, and here it is, nonetheless. Number 5 versus number 4. How did this happen?
You want to queue up your actions, or you want to pay points for them? What are you thinking?
This is another rough one because they both have similar kind of action kind of setups as far as like when you're going to move and kind of, I don't know. Geez, I guess action points is something I'm more familiar with. I've used that a lot more, but again, the queuing though is just, I don't know. I think if it's gonna be action, I want the action now. I want to bank points. I think there's something really kind of, I mean, they're both fun and interesting, right? Like queuing is like you're setting up to take your big move, but I like having the points. I think it gives me a little more flexibility. So I'm going to go to action points.
I agree. Yeah. And I kind of like the idea of, when they kind of overlap a little bit.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I like the idea of having action points, especially because in most games when you have action points, you can often manipulate the system a little bit, get more action points. And there's nothing more fun than like, hey, this round I have 9.
Yes.
I figured it out. You can tell I've been playing Slay the Spire. Like I have 9. I can just do whatever I want. I'm going to play all the cards. And that's the best feeling in games, I think.
Yeah, or even like risking it and holding on to some action points or building action points up and then just like having that big turn. So yeah.
Cool. Action points.
Moves on to the next round.
Yeah. All right. Next up we have number 11, Programmed Movement.
Oh boy.
Our Robo Rallies and whatnots. Versus number 3, Dice Workers.
Program Movement, honestly, and I mean this, like, should be one of, if not the greatest game mechanics in gaming. And I can't also imagine how it's not. I don't know why there's not more games based on this, because, like, theoretically, the idea that you plan out a whole bunch of moves and then they just activate and then they roll out, and it's just like, that's so much fun. But I think I still have not played enough games where that has been tremendously effective, and like almost by the end of the game at certain points I just like throw out a bunch of cards. I'm like, oh cool, it did pretty much the same thing I kind of planned to do, and I'm just like, I don't like that. So now on the other hand, Dice Workers, there's nothing radically special about it other than the fact that someone was a genius and came along and was like, hey, dice are workers, and you're like, dumb, and you're like, wait a minute, that is not dumb, that's kind of smart. It's like, yeah. It's a very smart dumb idea, or a very dumb smart, I don't know, like it's a very much like a aha duh moment. So yeah, totally. I'm gonna go with Dice Workers there, Anthony.
Me too. Yeah, I think honestly I had the exact same reaction the first time I played a Dice Worker style game. I don't remember if it was Marco Polo or something else around that time, but the first time I looked at it, I'm like, why would I want to roll my workers? That sucks. What if I roll all ones? And A, the restriction makes it fun to try to figure out how to get something done. And B, you usually get rewarded for, low rolls and not having good resources. So I love a Dice Worker game. Generally.
Yeah. And
a programming game, like you said, it should work. They rarely do. There's a couple good ones. They're not for me.
And again, I think it's one of those ideas that just like, it's such a smart idea. Why aren't we doing this more often?
Right. Yeah. All right. So number 3. Next up, we have number 10, Area Impulse. Mm-hmm. So we're, again, looking at some old school war game style design mechanics.
Yeah.
Or number 15, Forced Commitment.
That's rough.
Yeah, so again, we have some war game adjacent and war game mechanics here. Both of them very niche. Neither of them really like the core element of anything.
Yeah.
Like, what do we think? How did these win last week? I don't know.
Well, they were war-based, so they kind of swept in and took over control. So
they just do what they want.
They just do what they want, man. Like that's what those war games are all about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I generally like the idea of players going back and forth, and then until someone passes out. So like you can play depending on how you feel, like however many of actions that you really want. So, man, like TI4 is really good at that. The stuff that I've been playing more these days, and it seems like a little bit more of a modern implementation of this, I think is certainly the Forced Commitment. So playing like Dune Imperium and like committing troops to that battle,
right?
I think it creates more suspense, and I think you struggle with that because like you have to commit the troops, not knowing what everyone else is going to do, right? So I think that's a little more dramatic as far as gameplay is concerned. So I'm going to go forced commitment.
I agree. Yeah. And like, if we were looking at like 1970s games only,
Yeah.
I don't know what I would think, but forced commitment is, I feel like it's a mechanic that we see in a lot of modern board games, like you
Yes.
said, with Dune Imperium, or, similarly in the OG Dune, or in Scythe, or in really any of Eric Lang's big box games.
Yes.
So I agree. Forced commitment.
There you go.
All right, folks. There you have it. We have the 4 moving on from the worker and action focus region. Let's look at card and deck focus.
Oh boy.
All right. So here we have number 1, deck building. So just all the games,
all the deck buildings.
Yep. Versus number 9, variable player powers.
Yeah.
So okay, I can tell you what I like more.
Sure.
It's definitely variable player powers. Like, it's just the coolest thing to put in a board game, as long as the game is good.
Yeah.
Deck building, though, is in so many games that I love.
Yes.
Like in its core basic form, I could take it or leave it. I'm not like the biggest fan of Dominion in the world, but that's just like pure deck building.
Yes.
But when you layer other things on top of it,
sure,
and you add in other mechanics and other ideas, and you just use the deck building as an engine to build future actions.
Yes.
That's so cool. And we keep seeing new ways it can be used. Almost 20 years after Dominion, we're still seeing new ways it can be used. Some of the biggest video games in the world are deck building games now.
It's true.
I think I have to go deck building, even though I love me some variable player powers.
It's another strange conflict, because deck building games typically inevitably become variable player powers, because how you build your deck is now your unique power set.
True.
So, and again, depending on the game, that varies a little bit, but generally, like, my deck does this, like,
right.
Versus your deck that does that. Whereas variable player powers, you kind of start the game with that. So that can be generally helpful, because it allows you to set a strategy at the beginning of the game and be like, this is the road I need to run down because of this reason. Now, the other side of that too is the variable player powers are difficult, because sometimes they're not as balanced.
Sure.
And sometimes they are, the good news is sometimes they're directive, and the bad news is sometimes they're directive. So you have to do the thing that you got. Otherwise, you're kind of sacrificing the power, which you could still win, but also, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
the game's designed for you to do that thing, so you should do
yeah.
that thing.
Yeah. And sometimes it can be thematic, which is also cool. Like, I'm always oddly happier when I see variable player powers come into play in a game. But deck building is such a major mechanic. It's hard. I don't know if legally I can go against the number 1 seed here. Jeez.
I listen, I like your argument that deck building is building your own player power, whereas variable player powers is it's given to you.
It's
and
true.
There's no guarantee that it's balanced.
All right. You got me on that. So let's do deck building moves on to the next round, because I think that's because you do have some times where variable player powers do not work to your benefit. You're just like, oh, I got that thing, like Cosmic Encounter.
Yeah. Or like Clans of Caledonia. Sometimes you get one of those clans. You're like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to just make whiskey the whole game. I don't.
No, you won't make whiskey. You'll like it.
Yeah, if you don't use the player power, you're at a huge disadvantage. I'm like,
very big. Yeah.
Fine.
Oh, he's the whiskey guy. Okay, everyone do the thing that stops the whiskey. You're like, oh god, man.
Yeah. Or like the Marco Polo one, where you get the 2 workers and you have to travel a lot. I'm like, I want to do other stuff in the game. I don't want to just travel.
Nope, you're a travel guy now.
Yep. You get a bunch of money, you spend it to move. That is all you're doing for the next 3 hours.
That's true.
All right, fine. All right, let's move on to the next matchup here. We have number 12, command cards. Your command and colors, your battle lords and whatnot. Versus number 4, closed drafting. Your 7 wonders, your blood rages and whatnot. I think these are both so fun.
Yeah.
And at their best, they're among some of the best games out there. It's a hard one.
Yeah. Command and Colors, the command cards, is such a wonderfully brilliant, unique game mechanic, and I don't think anything and again, I'm not a war gamer, or I don't play in that genre too much, a little bit, to make me feel like, there's just nothing better than that.
Yeah.
The closed draft is fun because what's going to be in there, it's available to everybody, and you can get a sense of like, oh, these cards are gone, therefore someone's building this, right? Like you pass that Loki card to the next player, you're like, please don't play, please let the Loki card get back to me. So that becomes almost like its own kind of press your luck game.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, am I going to see that card again kind of come together and pop up? So
it's very meta, and it adds a layer of interactivity, often to games that wouldn't otherwise have it.
Sure.
Sometimes it's a mechanic you add to a game that doesn't already have it. Like, I know Terraforming Mars has that variant, but I would never play it without drafting, because you want to have that variability, but you also want to have that little bit of knowledge about what other people's cards might be.
Yes.
Because it can help guide you a little. So it's just a whole meta layer on top of a game, which on one hand is fun if you know the game really well. On the other hand, it can be overwhelming if the game's new to you. You're like, I have no idea what to pick, and I certainly don't know how to mess up other people. Command cards simplify everything. You're like, I have these 5 cards. Yeah. 3 of them are over here. One's over here. One's over here.
Yeah.
I have guys over here. I don't have any guys over here. I guess I'm going over here. Like, it's like there's strategy and tactics to it, but it takes a board game system and it boils it down and makes it so accessible.
Sure.
And fast. Like, those games take like an hour and a half versus like 4 hours for a big one. So I think I would go with Command and Cards in this case.
Sure.
Because it's so unique and because it fundamentally alters how I interact with a whole genre of games.
Sure.
Whereas closed drafting is often layered on top of things that already exist.
I think closed drafting is an advanced game mechanic because, like you said, one of the things you have to, there's a lot of things you have to know when you deal with a closed drafting, right? If you play Agricola, and I remember the situation actually happening and playing with whatever the random deck is, and I got a card in my hand which was like negative like all of the points, but it gives you this amazing special ability, and I'm like, that's really, I would love this, but it's too many negative points, and passed it along. And then the next hand of cards was like this religious figure card that like negates all negative points of other cards.
Oh no.
And I was just like, I didn't know this card was in here. I didn't know this card existed. And then had to pass it to the next person, and obviously they got both.
Yeah.
Because they knew it was in the deck. Now,
yeah,
that's rough. Because again, like any game that you come into, like you mentioned, like Blood Rage or even Seven Wonders, if you don't know what's available, like the guilds and Seven Wonders, then you don't know what to build towards. The command cards it does simplify and streamline the game, but you can also have bad hands where like everything moves from the left. And you're like, I don't have any troops on the left. Right. Just like, this is not a good time. I'm not having fun with this. Like, why couldn't I move everything instead of just like give orders to a side where I don't have troops? And then I'm going to go close drafting. I think we need to roll this off.
Okay, we'll roll it. I like both of these, so I have no problem with that.
Sure, same.
Your odds, right?
Yes.
Okay. See if I can do this correctly this time. 11.
Yay!
That's odd. Close drafting.
Close drafting moves on to the next round.
All right.
Yeah.
Next up, we have number 6, Set Collection, versus number 3, Hand Management.
Sure. It's like a major in college, hand management.
I know. Hand management's important. Obviously, this applies to any card game. You need to play the cards in the right order. You have to manipulate them in the right order. Sometimes you literally have to put them in the right order. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like a broader mechanic because it can be interpreted or managed in all these different ways. So really, if you like playing a card game in which you're playing from your hand for like closed information to other people, playing it out, that's what that is, which I do. I like card games. Set collection is kind of the opposite, where you're building sets out in front of you. They often go into a tableau of some kind. Everybody can see what you're creating. You can see what you're building. So it's a very different approach. It's not necessarily as tied, I think, to cards and decks as hand management would be. So I'm going to go with hand management here, but I do like both.
Yeah, set collection again, I think is the easier of the mechanics. Like you said, it's out front. It's what you're putting together. Your point salad is classic, well, modern day classic kind of set collection. Hand management is certainly definitely more difficult and dynamic across the way as far as like how do you put together a winning play based upon what you have. So like War of the Rings second edition, right? Like those cards are just incredibly powerful, and how you play them and when you play them is just devastating. So it's a little simple versus complex. I mean, all right. You know what? I'm going to go with set collection. I think we need to roll this one off too.
Okay. Someone wants to roll dice today. We're not even to the dice yet. All right, 3.
Hey, set collection.
Stupid die.
I have now collected 2 wins. Yay!
Yeah.
Yay for sets.
I need another die. I got another one over here. This is a different. The blue die is retired.
Oh no! He's bringing in the loaded dice, folks.
Yeah. I'll have to go find the metal dice next if I can't get a better roll.
Jeez.
Put a dent in the table. All right. Next up, we have number 7, campaign battle card driven, versus number 2, multi-use cards. This one's easy. Multi-use cards are awesome.
Yeah, multi-use cards are incredibly next level, and God bless all the game designers who use them, because I can't imagine what they have to go through to figure out how to put those together and how to balance those things out. And again, there's so many different ways. You tap, you turn, you have things on the corners. The backside has something that benefits you. Like crazy how they kind of put that together.
No, it's awesome. Yeah, like and the 100 different ways that you can make it work. It's so cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of games that use it too. I'm always happy when I see multi-use cards. Always happy. Can't be happier. So yeah, I'm going to go with multi-use cards.
All right. Like I said, easy.
Number 2 seed, baby.
All right. Next up, the area control and strategy region, which has a bunch of auctions in it. So we'll get to that. Number 16, variable setup, versus number 8, network and route building.
Here we are.
2 very, very different things. Variable setup is a mechanic, but it's also just kind of a part of a game. It's that opening salvo. And in some cases, it can be one of the best parts. Like the setup process for Twilight Imperium is very, very meta. It's awesome.
Yeah.
You absolutely should do it the full way that the rulebook says. Don't preset that game. Whereas network and route building tends to be the whole game, right? If you're doing that, it's often the thing you're doing.
Sure.
It's train games, it's route building games. It's often the backbone of things like a pick up and deliver type of game. I love those. I think they're fun. But I do love me a variable setup.
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard, Anthony, because I think the network and route building is the core of those games.
Yeah.
Whereas the variable setup is just kind of like ancillary, right? It's just like, and there's variable setup, right? Again, sometimes it's necessary for balancing situations.
Yeah.
And sometimes expansions bring in variable setup, which is weird because it's just like, you played the base game, now play a version that actually makes sense, where everybody is not necessarily in the exact spots every time. What was that? Game of Thrones, the board game, where it's just like, well, we only have X number of players. That spot's going to be open for that person. So, yeah, it's going to be a short game. So, I'm going to go. I mean, variable setup should not win because it is an additional thing, whereas network and route building is like a main mechanic. I hate to say it, but even though variable setup does fix things, I'm going to go with network and route building.
All right. See if I can win another die roll.
Come on. Set collection.
9. Come on.
My set has moved up to 3 wins.
The white die's bad too. I need another one. Okay. Next up, closed economy auction.
Yes.
So the money stays in the economy.
Uh-huh.
Or the Dutch auction.
I like the Dutch auction. I
also like the Dutch auction.
I think the idea that just like something's out there and then you have to like grind your teeth as it goes down and not sure when to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
I think that's such a brilliant mechanic.
I 100% agree. I think it's always more interesting. There's more interaction. There's more strategy. There's a lot more bluffing. The bluffing makes more sense in that context.
Yeah, and I think there's something a little less fun about the closed economy because it's like, oh, I won this, but now I gave you the money. You'll win the next one. And just like, I don't know.
It does feel like more of like a seesaw yo-yo type.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was easy.
All right. Dutch auction. There you go.
Yeah.
Didn't take long at all.
No, yeah. Dutch auction for the win. All right. Number 11, the square grid.
Sure. Why not?
Classic square grid, y'all. Checkers, chess. Versus the English auction.
Okay.
Good old fashioned bidding it up.
Well, if you're going to go down, you also have to go up. So I'm going to go with the English auction. Also because like while I do respect the square grid, of course, like you have to. Like it's just the way. Like you see the square grid coming and you're just like, dude, you are the man. But also, you're a very old man.
Yeah.
Very, very old. You should sit over there. I'm going to play with these things called hexes, which
I'm gonna get you a soda.
Yeah.
Just relax.
Yeah.
Watch your stories. I'll be back.
Right.
Yeah. I love like square grid games. There's a bunch of them that are among my favorites. But like you said, why would we be playing square grid games when we have hex games in 2026? Like, if chess was invented this year, it'd probably be a hex game. So
sure,
I'm gonna go with English auction as well.
Same. All right, our number 3 moves on. Big surprise.
All right.
There.
So now that we said so many nice things about hex grids, number 2 hex grid, or number 10 hex grid, sorry, versus number 2 I cut you choose.
The irony there.
Yeah.
I mean, hex grid is the base of the core of the modern day board game, I suspect. And scientifically proven as like the best shape as far as like how it kind of maximizes space and connectivity and things. I mean, the bees knew about this forever. So shout out to the bees out there. Yeah. I cut you choose is so much fun. I don't know. Like,
I know, but how far can we push a mechanic that has like 5 games?
That's true.
Yeah.
It seems very wrong. Are you a game designer out there who's looking to put a game together? Make an I cut you choose game, please. There's just not enough.
I'm gonna say hex grid because I feel like I have to after like downing on square grid so much. And you know, I do love me a good hex grid game. I've played 400 hours of Civilization 5.
Sure,
but I cut you choose is very fun. So
I cut you choose is very fun.
What do you think?
I mean, if you didn't make that point, I would say that we would have to roll it off. But you made that damn point, and you
I made a point.
Stupid points, doing smart things and making me vote for things I don't want to vote for. All right, hex it up, man.
Yeah, it's your vote, man. You can go either way. I can roll the
die. Sorry, I cut you choose.
All right. If there were more games, I imagine it would do better.
I still don't. Maybe the math is just too hard.
It must be. There must be something weird about it. It just doesn't work.
It's just so few games out there in the industry that's based on that or has as a main mechanic, but it's such a gripping moment when you have to do that. So I don't know. Maybe we need to have somebody from like game design theory come onto the podcast and explain why that's not a thing.
Right.
Because
let's get Eric Zimmerman on here.
Because it combines a lot of the other great mechanics. It's a press your luck.
Yeah.
Right. It's an auction kind of situation. Like, what am I going to give up to what am I going to get?
Yeah.
So, you know, there's some hidden knowledge that someone doesn't know why you're taking something versus something else. There's deduction. There's negotiation, right? Like, I think if I'll put this in there, you'll purchase. Like, it does a lot of very cool things. I don't know why it's not more of a thing. So
yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, 200 games on BGG, and then once you get off the first page, it's stuff you don't know.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. I'm gonna have to release a game just to there's something.
Do it, man.
There.
Do it. Get on here and we'll revise this whole thing. No, Chris solved it. It's now number 1.
It's now number 1. My 50 versions of I Cut You Choose the board games. So.
All right, let's move on to the 4th region here. We have thematic and conflict. Number 1, cooperative game.
Okay.
So just co-op in general.
Yes.
Versus number 8, narrative choice or paragraph.
Sure.
I'm not a big narrative choice fan. I know I picked it last time over storytelling. That's just because I'm also not a storytelling fan.
Sure.
There are some narrative choice games I really enjoy, but I think that's usually more of an exception than the rule. Like I really like mystery style ones, like the Sherlock Holmes games are fun.
Sure.
But co-op games, I think there are certainly co-op games I don't like, and certainly there's a thread of modern co-op that's like, let's throw 500 things in the box and we'll make it co-op so we don't have to balance anything.
It's true.
And that's not fun either.
No.
But the best co-op games are brilliant, and the mechanic itself is brilliant in a way that, and it's not just like I enjoy this and it's cool to see. It's as a teacher, as a parent, seeing how people respond to that. They're like, oh, we can work together? And it's always that reaction. Right. People are like, there's a game where you just work together? That's amazing. And just seeing how they change from that, I think just as a mechanic, it's been transformative for the hobby in a way that probably nothing else on this list has been. Whether I like it as much as anything else is different, but I think it's just changed how we game.
Sure. Co-op games have never been my favorite for as the reasons you stated, right? And also, like, you have your alpha gamer, which is always a problem for. I mean, again, even if you have the best people in the world, like someone's going to want to be like, we should make these choices. And then there's also the conceit where so many designers are just like, and it's a one-person solo game, and you're like, that's not a thing. Like it's one thing or the other. It's not both. And again, if it's a solo game and a co-op game, then you're really asking for that alpha gamer to kind of control that. Although I will say that some of my favorite games of all time are co-op games, which is really weird. So like when a co-op game works, it really works. I think the other challenge here is, and I think this is a fundamental weakness in our industry now more than ever, and I think it's going to get killed. And I mean, even more so later, Anthony. Like, I know it got the number 8 seed, but like, I'm trying to remember a game like these, right? Like if you say like Tales of Arabian Nights or any of those other kind of games, like where the writing was compelling.
Oh yeah.
Or if you think like
often boring,
it's often boring. Even the legacy games I haven't played Pandemic Legacy, so forgive me on that, but I've played all the other ones, and I don't ever think about the writing. Like I don't go back and like plead with people like, we need to play this game, it's so well written. When was the last time you said that? Have you ever said that
about a board game?
Yes.
Not. And like, to be fair, I don't think you and I really play a lot of the big storytelling games. Like I know people have told me about some of the Awaken Realms games being really well written, and there's some of the other ones, but I don't play those. Like if they're big enough and sprawling enough, I'm not going to get into it.
I mean, the only thing for me that comes to mind, and I haven't played it, which is Kingdom Death Monster, because supposedly it has, and I remember the Kickstarter way back when, like it has a very grim creationist theory, elder god kind of story of like the beginning of humanity versus the dark. Like that was like a very compelling idea, but it was also like $700. So like, or like those games like Seventh Continent, right? Yeah. Like again, I've had my finger over the button 1,000 times, but like again, I can't pay $300 for what is a solo game with like blurbs on a card. I just can't.
Yeah,
like
no, same.
So, and again, it does have its place. I wish it had a better place. I fear that AI is just going to eat this market up because I think it'll be simple for AI just to pump this stuff out. And I think you do really need a writer. And again, I think in the future, we need to kind of like look more into these games and highlight the writing in these games, because I think that's essential for a lot of people. So yeah, I'm going to go co-op games too.
Okay. Yeah. I think I agree with everything you said there. I wasn't even thinking half of that, but I agree.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, co-op games. Moving on.
Yeah.
All right, next up we have number 12, dice rolling. Good old-fashioned dice rolling, like this podcast, where I can't see. It's another odd.
Yeah.
Versus victory points as resources at 13. Dice rolling is a classic.
Classic, man.
You don't get any better than rolling a big handful of dice. Victory points as resources kind of annoys me more often than anything else. But
sure.
I do like the simplicity of it. Usually if you're using victory points as a resource, it's because there aren't other resources, right? It usually means the victory point is like the money. You get the money, whoever has the most money wins the game.
Yes.
So like a good stock market game.
Scythe does that too.
Scythe, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Any of the 18xx games that I love, right?
Sure.
Whoever has the most money, you win the game.
Brass,
Right?
Brass. You have to take out loans, right?
Yeah.
You're giving up points in that. Yeah.
Yeah. You spend it down.
You spend
so
it
I
down.
think if it's done right, it's really good.
Sure.
Dice rolling it's kind of so vague. It could be anything, right? It could be Yahtzee, or it could be,
Formula D.
Formula D.
Which again, I think that's the brilliance of dice rolling, because we play in so many games, even like you play dungeon crawl games, right? You have Gloomhaven and that's out there, and it's brilliant, but also like, have you ever been in a dungeon with your character and you roll a handful of dice?
Yeah.
Like there's something so brilliant, and it's just so, the physical act of like feeling the dice in your hands or picking up the different dice. Like I got a bunch of D20s in my hand. Like you feel powerful.
Yeah.
And then to, throw down the board and see what comes out of it is just amazing. Whereas, you play Gloomhaven, which is getting great, but you flip a card over, you're like, and card. So, on the other side, victory points is, it's rough, because games that have that as a mechanic, you're always going to have to do that. And it's going to cost you. And again, long-term gains, it's really hard to tell. So,
sure.
I mean, my initial impression is victory points as resources, because it's such a damn cool mechanic. But I can't say that dice rolling isn't just fun. Although it's so weird, because like, so many games have gotten away and and have really a negative vibe for dice rolling, but dice rolling has its place.
Sure.
So yeah, I don't know. What are you picking?
I'm going to go with victory points as resources. I talked myself into it.
Sure.
I like my economic games.
Ironically, I've talked myself out of it, so I'm going to go with dice rolling.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm going to leave it up to the dice, because the dice knows.
I'm going to mix it up. I'm rolling both D20s. You're blue. I'm white here. We'll see what comes
out higher. Okay.
Yeah. Just because I keep losing. All right. I got 17. You got 13. They're both odds, though.
They're both odds. I would have won again.
Yeah.
And again.
Twice in the same roll.
Roll it twice.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, well, if they're both odd,
one
of them has to be higher.
It's true.
He's
given into it. He found a new way around it.
Yes, I broke it. All right, next up we have number 11, dice rolling die icon resolution. So not the numbers, but the icons, and you're using those as actions.
Yes.
Versus number 3, role playing.
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Role playing games, huh?
Yeah. I love role playing games. I think they're awesome. I think this was an easy win last time, but dice icon resolution,
it's pretty.
Some of my favorite games of all time, like War of the Ring.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough one for me. I think that's like the core of that game, and so many others. Whereas role playing is like the underpinning, the foundation of everything we're doing. So
sure,
we don't have this hobby without it. So I don't know, but then it almost feels like you're voting for Square Grid again. I don't know.
It's true. I mean, like the burst dice, a lot of times, like you see Arcadia Quest, where you get to roll those dice and like they spin out and new things come out. I mean, there's so many games that have like the special dice icons, and they're just, it's fun to be able to roll and hit them. Yeah, I mean, we're more board gamers than we are role play gamers, but I'm gonna have to go with role play games, because I just think it's so quintessential. I don't know how to. I need something more, how would you say, provocative as far as like than dice rolling icons. Yeah.
No, I agree. I think it has to be role playing. Like, I'm like looking at my shelf. I'm like, I have like 30 role playing books up here. Yeah, I don't do a lot of it, but I own the books. I love reading them. I have played since I was 8 years old.
How much did Cosmere make on his last Kickstarter?
Like 15, 20 million, something like that.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
It was ICV2 put out a thing saying it's the number 2 best selling TTRPG last quarter.
Crazy. I saw that. Yeah.
It's like, didn't quite beat. I mean, nothing's going to beat D&D, but got to number 2, which is crazy.
Sure,
because it just came out.
Amazing. It's incredibly amazing that did that. Yeah.
All right, last matchup here in this category, we have number 7, Simulation, versus number 15, Scenario Campaign Game.
Gotcha.
So we've got trying to perfectly simulate something versus trying to tell a story about something through the actions. I think a really good simulation can be a lot of fun, but it also takes 400 hours typically.
It's true.
A good scenario campaign game tends to be chunked up a little bit more. I struggle a little bit with those because they, again, tend to be the big box of plastic that I'm not a fan of, but some of the good ones are really good.
Sure. I mean, they both do their jobs, I guess, as far as that's concerned. I mean, a scenario campaign game is probably a simulation game. It's just a very specific simulation game.
True.
And it does what it needs to do in order to do that, where a simulation game could probably be more things.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with simulation games because it could be more things than just a campaign.
I agree. I
I
agree with you.
There you go. Number 7 moves on to the next round.
All right. So now we're down to 16.
Sweet 16.
Yeah. So let's finish out each of these categories until we have one from each, and then we will face off those 4 against each other.
Crazy, man. We're going to do
All
it.
right. Let's do it. Worker and action focus. We have worker placement versus action points.
Oh, no.
Yeah. How do you want to choose what actions you're taking? If you think about it, worker placement is just action points.
It is. It's true. The number of workers are the number of action points you have.
Yeah. So it has to be action points then, right?
I guess. I mean, action worker always... I want to say always, but sometimes you do need multiple workers to activate a spot.
Oh, that's true. Also, with workers, you can block other people from doing stuff. Whereas action points is not always the case.
Plus, you get meeples, where action points are just abstract kind of concepts, or they're just tokens.
Yeah.
I'm going to go worker
talk
placement.
ourselves into worker placement.
I think we're going to talk about worker placement. Yeah.
Okay, that's easy.
Yeah.
All right, and then dice workers versus forced commitment. I mean, I'm a dice worker guy. It got to be. Like, I love again, the forced commitment, we talked about it's really cool in a lot of games. But it also is just like a piece of some of those games. Dice workers, I feel like if it's using that mechanic, that is the core of the game.
All right, you talked me into it. I'm going to go dice workers too. I think that,
Dude,
yeah.
we're killing it. All right. So then the big question is regular old worker placement or dice worker placement?
So basically it's, do you want meeples or do you want dice?
Yeah.
That's right.
I want dice.
You want dice, okay.
Because you can manipulate the dice often.
We're designing our own game live as we're doing this.
Exactly. Like if you have workers,
yes,
they're just workers. The only way to make them different is to play more workers.
You don't like meeples?
I love meeples, but they're just meeples. They don't do anything else. We had another category for different worker types. We didn't vote that in.
Yes,
so, true. It's just a meeple. And again, like you could play like architects or something and you're like, here's a handful of meeples. But it's still just a handful of meeples.
Yeah.
Whereas dice workers, it's dice, but they change values. They get more powerful. You often have abilities to manipulate them with different other things you can spend. It's just the flexibility.
Sure.
I think that's...
It's true. The flexibility does make a lot more sense. Although on a board, it really isn't that impressive.
No, I mean, meeples always look better. Yeah.
Yeah, because most of your Euro games are like villagers or workers or stuff like that. And having the meeple on the board like lends itself to the aesthetic quality and storytelling, the thematic presence of it. Where the dice are great, right? Like dice are great because like you said, they have a lot more flexibility to what they can do and how they can do it. But at the end of the day, you walk past that or someone walks past your game and they're like, why is there random dice on the board? And every once in a while, somebody wants to roll them by the set. So,
yeah, that is true. People will try to roll the dice. I'm like, don't touch the dice.
All right, I'm going to go worker placement, and I think it's time for another roll-off.
All right.
So do you have
while we were talking, I dropped the white die, so we're back to one die.
Oh, no. You're not doing well with the dice today.
No, it's late. What are you going to do?
Sure.
All right, back to odds. I'm going to lose 3. I've not rolled a single odd.
What a run of luck I'm having. My set collection is working out.
I know. All right, so worker placement is the winner of Region 1, worker and action focus, the number 1 seed. Just like basketball.
Power to the meeples, man. Power to the meeples.
Worker placement, one of my favorite mechanics. I'm perfectly happy with that.
Sure.
All right, moving on to Region 2, card and deck focus. We have deck building, number 1 seed versus number 4 closed drafting.
So you build a thing, or there's a thing and it kind of goes around until it becomes your thing.
Right.
And then you're stuck with a thing.
Yeah. Like you're still building a thing with drafting, but you have fewer and fewer options as you go.
And it's opened, right? So the closed drafting is like, hopefully you know what's in that, but probably you don't, because who does that unless you're really like, that's my game, like you're a lifestyle gamer and you're just like, this is my game, I know all the cards that will be in this like 35 card deck. So
yeah, I mean, like Seven Wonders, if you played it enough, you know all the cards,
but Seven Wonders I think is very, I mean, I'm thinking more of Agricola, like that Agricola situation, more than anything else. The deck building, everything's open market, so you're usually pulling cards from a market.
Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah. I'm all for deck building. I think that's I prefer that. If you ask me which mechanic I was gonna use, I like adding drafting to a lot of games to make it better. But if it's like a pure mechanic versus mechanic, I would go with deck building.
I don't know. Deck building's fun because you have the open market. You do have somewhat of a race to the best cards if you can afford them. Like if you play paperback, you know, trying to pull the cards off to get to the bigger cards, that whole Dominion mechanic to it. You know, I'm gonna have to go with the closed drafting just because, as much as I do think that deck building might be the better mechanic, but I think closed drafting has the better games. And in the end, these mechanics are there to service the game. So, closed draft, Blood Rage, Seven Wonders, a dozen games like this. Whereas the deck building's fine, but it tends to be a little vanilla, a little more on the basic side.
Well, I mean, you got to think about the modern way it's being used. Games like Arnak or Dune Imperium, or like it's not just deck building anymore. It's a bunch of that drives the rest of the system typically. Sure,
the deck building typically doesn't restrict you from anything from the market, with the exception of, did you build your deck well enough to purchase from the market?
Sure,
or pull from the market. Whereas closed drafting, you don't have that kind of challenge. You have a different challenge, which is everything is available to you. Are you going to put together a strategy right there and then in order to be able to successful? It's like, you know, Terraforming Mars, like you mentioned, like with the closed draft, right? That's fun. I think that's fun. I think that's I think that's the thing. So I think we're gonna have to roll some dice, man.
All right, dice going again. Someone's pressing their luck. It's going to switch eventually.
You would think that statistically it would have already switched.
11. My goodness. That's like 6 or 7 in a row. I'm like, I wish I had a camera on it. I am actually rolling the die. These are the actual numbers on the die.
The prediction market's blowing out. That's all I have to say.
Closed drafting. Moving on. All right. Number 6, set collection versus number 2, multi-use cards.
Sure.
I said it last time. I'll say it again. This is easy. It's multi-use cards.
It's multi-use cards.
Heck yes.
Yes.
Right. The least discussion we're going to have.
That's right. Is that a yes? That's a yes. That's not even a question. That's a yes.
All right. Number 4, closed drafting versus number 2, multi-use cards.
No, we just said that. We just did that one.
Okay.
I'm sorry. We're still going on that same one.
Yeah.
Okay,
we have to close this one out. We have to pick a winner for this region.
Gotcha. Multi-use cards.
Multi-use cards. Well, I voted against closed drafting every other time, so I guess I have to go with you on that. It'd be weird if suddenly I was like, no, it is drafting, actually. All right, there we go. The winner of the Region 2 is multi-use cards, which I think is the one we talked about the least, because it's just like, yeah, that one's great.
There you go. The number 2 seed moves on.
All right, Region 3. We have number 8, network and route building, versus number 4, auction Dutch style.
I'm not the biggest auction fan, to be honest. I don't have a lot of auction games. I don't own a lot. I don't play a lot of auction games.
Mm-hmm.
I do play a lot more networking and route building games by far. Like, tremendously, like so many more than that. I mean, again, I have more fun with the auction Dutch version of the thing, but I don't think I'm ever going to choose that versus a network or route building game. I think networking and route building is like, that's the game I'm going to choose. Right. Even though I think the auction Dutch is a lot more fun, but I think it's just it's a little too simple. It's a one thing. It's a one trick pony.
Yeah, and again, it's often just part of the rest of the game. It's not. Yeah. There are very few like pure auction games, and certainly not that are like Dutch auction style. It's usually like a mechanic in a larger game. So, which I think is the argument we keep using why network and route building keeps winning. But sure. I think I agree with that.
Yeah.
All right, network and route building. Moving on. We have next up on the docket the auction English style, English auction versus Hexagon Grid. Good old Hex Grid.
Yeah, it would have been funny if auction Dutch was versus auction English.
It would have, yeah.
But it would have been Dutch, so it's got to be Hex. I got to go Hex.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, we've talked about it before. Like the Hex Grid, like it is the basis of any map-based game
today. Yeah, in modern day, yeah, sure.
Right, like, and unless you're talking about like just like freeform movement, but we're not. We're talking about like grids. So
yes, 100%.
All right, so then we put up the network and route building versus Hexagon Grid. What do you think?
I mean, in modern day board gaming, and I'm sure a lot of people will correct me on this, but I think you can't have a network. Well, I guess you can. I'm already popping some games in my head. I want to say you have to have a Hex Grid Hex Grid has to be there in order to have a networking and route building. But there are games. Concordia doesn't have a Hex Grid, and that has a route building, so you can do it.
Yeah, sometimes it's just area to area movement, which is again another one that we kind of dropped off last week.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Mechanic, network, and route building. Oh, geez. It's rough. I mean, there is something interesting. I mean, even the most dry games of all, Euro time games of all time, is just like, it still kind of works because somehow just connecting the dots is something just on a human level. It's just like, that's kind of fun. I made a line. Just like, all right.
Yeah. And often after you finish building that line, you get to move things on the line, which is even more fun.
Like Brass, right? That's pretty much fundamentally what Brass is, which is network.
Really, any train game is what it is. Like, you have to build the route and then you run the route.
You build the route and then you run the route. Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of the network route building games. At their most core, and like honestly, many of these at their most core basic level, it can be a little dry, but it's like at the most interesting, it could be really fascinating. So,
yeah, all right, I'm gonna go. Network and route building. Like I said, it's not necessarily a favorite, but I think it is one of the best mechanics out there for sure.
Okay. All right, so that is our winner for the action area control and strategy region, network and route building. Finally, region 4, thematic and conflict. We have number 1, co-op, versus number 13, victory points as resources. So I'm gonna stick with my call on the co-op games. I know I picked victory points as resources last time, but I also picked co-op games, and I stick with that. Just, it's again like not my favorite. If someone puts a co-op game I haven't played out, I'll probably be like, let me try something else. But then I look at my top 100 and it's got like 10 of them in there, and I'm like, yeah, right. Like Marvel Champions and Spirit Island are in my top 10.
Sure.
Voidfall, I play the co-op version over the competitive version. And that's my number 1. So I have to go with co-op because when you do it at a high level, it's just such a good system and it's so accessible.
I think in co-op, you have to give into the conceit like that you want to really like fundamentally on a very strong level play with people, right? Like, because you could play so many Euro games and you're just like, I'm doing my own game, my own thing. This game is fun. And when you play a co-op game, you're like, oh, cool, new people. That's scary, and I don't want to talk to new people. So I don't know if I want to play the co-op game. It's a good game. You're like, yeah, but it's not really the game, it's the people. So like, I think there's a little conceit there that it's like, I don't know if I want to play with people. So, but
okay,
co-op games, I think I think, as you mentioned earlier, you gave that impassioned speech how it's transformative for the industry and the nature of gaming, and I think that's true. I think that's certainly true. So I think co-ops move on to the next round.
Oh yeah, I did my rhetoric.
You did the thing.
All right, number 3, role playing versus number 7, simulation.
Oh boy.
Well, this is interesting because role playing is based on war simulations.
It is.
And a lot of modern simulation games are based on rules of role playing.
Yes.
So it's kind of a snake eating its own tail situation. Both, whereas simulation games are very niche. Like,
yes.
The average gamer has not heard of almost anything made by GMT.
Sure.
Whereas Dungeons and Dragons, if I said that in my class, 80% of them would know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
So I think, role playing is baked into so many different types of games. It's just a core element of gaming as a whole. You don't have to have watched every episode of Critical Role to understand the importance of the genre or to enjoy it. Like, you can sit down and do a one shot, spend 2 hours at that with very minimal prep and have fun because the rules are at the base level fairly accessible. At a high level, they're incredibly inaccessible, but at a base level, pretty accessible. A simulation game is never going to be accessible. It's by design. It is a very, very high barrier of entry. So you have like this system that's like infinitely deep, but super easy to get into, or one that's also infinitely deep, but impossible to get into, but does something that few other games can do.
Sure.
In simulation. So I appreciate what they're both doing. I'm going to go with role playing though, because I think it's doing it's broader, like what it can do and how it's integrated into other systems.
Yeah, I mean, role playing is a simulation game, right? Like, the idea of a role playing game is like, we will role play these roles to do this thing. So role playing is a simulation game. It's a simulation
of a social interaction and structures, right? Whereas simulation style game is a simulation of systems and mechanics.
Yes, and simulation games, like a lot of serious games out there where they're trying to teach you a thing.
Right.
Yeah. They would also fit into that category.
Yep.
So is the focus the system itself that you are engaging with and that has all the nuts and bolts that you're kind of chomping on? Or is it the role-playing situation where it's the social dynamic that is lending itself to provide a simulation type of environment, even though it's not the system itself? Like, like, I'm going to do some athletic thing, and just like, you're just rolling dice. You're just saying you're doing a thing, you're rolling dice. Whereas a simulation game, you would have some sort of element in the game that forced you to do a thing in that. So,
right.
But again, yeah.
It's funny. I almost made a joke about how long the rule books are for simulation games. I'm like, role-playing game rule books are 300 pages.
They are. They are just, I think it, like you said, I think you properly laid it out as far as simulation games are the system that has been trying to be captured and focused upon, and you're playing through that, like John Company, second, that game was just, it's a simulation game. I mean, you're just like, I'm not really doing much, but I appreciate the system that I'm going through. For the sake, I guess, nostalgia, I guess you can't vote against role playing. It's just too fundamental, I think.
Yeah. All right. So that leaves us with cooperative games versus role playing games.
Whoa.
Yeah.
we knew this day would come.
Yeah. Number 1 versus number 3.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
I mean, there is an element of role playing in co-op games because you are playing with a group and you together are forming a story or a class of people that are trying to bring about some sort of resolution. So role playing games and co-op games are kind of one and the same in some respects, other than co-op games are typically board game based. And certainly, role-playing games are, by definition, also co-op games, right? How could they not be, right? Even if you do have a trader or some other kind of mechanic in there, it's still a co-op game. So, magic circles all around. That's basically what I'm saying.
I know. So what we're saying is they're the same. And we don't have to pick one. Great.
Kind of. I'm going to lean towards which one on a normal day that I would want to play.
Sure.
And that's going to be a co-op game because I do appreciate the physical presentation of the board and the pieces and the movements and things like that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm in the same place. Like, I love a role playing game, but the thing about a role playing game is you can't just sit down and you can't just decide one day I want to play this and I'll go call some people. Someone's got to run it.
Yeah,
and if you've never done that before, good luck.
Sure.
So
and the co-op game is challenging because of people like we talked about the alpha gamer and such. But role playing game is like 100% are the people into this game.
Yeah,
and like usually you get a large group, which is great. But the level of people's thematic, how would you say it? Like trying to think of the right words here, like thematic capture, right? Like how much are they really into the story? Like how much are they really playing out versus other people like, yeah, I see him. I roll a dice to hit him. And just like that. No, we left the story now. No, get back.
Yeah.
Whereas a co-op game is like, it does hold you by the hand as it goes through it.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So cooperative games, pulling it out in Region 4.
Nice.
Vatican Conflict.
Very cool.
So we have our final 4 game mechanics here: worker placement, multi-use cards, network and route building, and cooperative games. Let's face them off and pick a winner.
The biggest hitters, man. These are the biggest. Jeez.
So first up, we got worker placement versus multi-use cards.
Mm-hmm. You want me to go first?
Why don't you go first? Because we haven't actually said much about multi-use card. We did last week, but this week we haven't really said anything. We've kind of just pushed it through.
Sure.
We've said a lot about worker placement, but
I think Eric Lang once asked what makes a game fun, and he had a whole article on it, and people responded to it. And my response to that, just at least in my head, was the interesting choices that you get to make.
Yeah.
Right. There's just something about games that allow you to make interesting choices. And the more a game lets you to make interesting choices, the more choices, the better it is. A worker placement game allows you to place typically a worker in a couple of select locations.
Yeah.
And take that ability. Multi-use cards, it allows you, I believe, again, it's hard to tell because, again, games will differ, right? Like you could have a game of worker placement game where there's like 20 spots you can go to. It's like, wow, where a multi-use card maybe has 5 things on it that you can do. So in that case, maybe not so much. But like when you get a hand of multi-use cards or you're drafting multi-use cards, whatever it might be, like there's a level of wonder that like, what can I do with these? Because these are your cards, right? Whereas worker placement, everyone gets the spots. Like those spots are typically available to everybody, or at least the majority of them are, which some games are exceptions. So some of my favorite games of all time are in fact the multi-use cards. So Glory to Rome, Bruges. I just love that idea that like this thing can do so many. It's the dice of card games, right? Like it can do a lot of things. I roll it, right? Card can also be doing that same kind of large number. It's not random, but certainly you could do a lot of things. So I'm going to go with multi-use cards.
Yeah, I think I agree. And honestly, and the funny thing is like those games you listed are not among my favorites.
Sure.
But there are a lot of games that have this mechanic that I do like quite a bit, right? So Brass in general, right?
Sure.
It's like
La Granja.
La Granja, yeah. Really any of the modern deck building games where the cards can be used for actions or their actual play or sometimes to power up other things.
Lisboa,
yeah. So it's just such a great way to add complexity to a system without making the overhead too much, right?
And it's interesting choices.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
because it's not just like we talked about this earlier. We have command cards and it lets you do a thing. And if you can do the things, great. If you can't do those things, that's too bad. But multi-use cards is like, you can do a couple of things. How are you going to play this?
Right.
And like you mentioned, SETI, one of the brilliant things about that game probably is the multi-use cards.
Yeah.
Because do you want to power up? Do you want to play? Do you want to go here? Like, that's fun. It gives you options.
Right. Yeah. And one of the coolest things it can do, too, is it gives you an out. Because sometimes you have a handful of cards you can't use. In a game like SETI, you can always use the cards.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important.
Or even there's, even just on a very limited level, some of those games where the cards are also, you pay for other cards, like San Juan.
Yeah.
Things like that. Absolutely. Or Race for the Galaxy, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. And like worker placement is, ironically, if I looked at my top 100, probably maybe about even.
Sure.
But then I'm thinking, like, how many of those worker placement games also have multi-use cards? So
It's true.
So I'm with you. I think multi-use cards is just, it's so much fun. The purest form of this often isn't for me, ironically,
Sure.
but it's use within the Euro context to broaden the action pool, and like you said, interesting choices makes it just an all-timer.
All right. Well, our number 2 beats out our number 1.
All right. And then our other matchup here before we get to the final is network and route building versus cooperative games.
Ooh.
I feel like this is pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Network and route building, I think I like this more than you do, just
Mm-hmm.
as a mechanic, just the number of games that I have. Like
Power Grid.
It's a train thing.
Yeah.
I like train games. I like 18xx type games. I like
Mhm.
pick up and deliver type games. I think it's one of the few areas of our gaming interest that hasn't really crossed over all that much. Whereas co-op games, you know, we've already had this conversation. We talked about what their role is and how accessible they are and what they do for the hobby. And maybe they're not the best first thing we'd want to play at the table, but we both have multiple of them in our top 10. So,
Sure.
So I'm going to go with co-op games.
Yeah, I'm going to go co-op games too. I do like networking and route building games, and
Yeah.
Concordia certainly is one of my favorite games of all
Sure.
time. And Concordia is always in like my top 10. But I think in my top 5 that's bounced around, it's been some co-op games in there. So your Spirit Island, your Defenders of the Realm, like a lot of games in there are just like, it's very hard to do, but if you're able to pull it off, it's fantastic.
Yeah, no, and it's just a lot of fun. And honestly, I can't think of any games I enjoy teaching quite as much as a good co-op game.
Sure.
Like guiding people through. I don't even have to play. Like it gets me teaching other people. Like here's what you do, and here's how you do that. Like, oh, did you forget this? Oh, that's cool. You know, just watching people interact with it. It's fun.
Yeah, and it's all open information, which makes those games typically much easier to teach.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So that brings us to our final. We have multi-use cards, which was a number 2 seed.
Yes.
From the card and deck focus group, versus cooperative games, which was the number 1 seed from the thematic and conflict. What do we think? Those multi-use cards or that co-op experience?
Both very good mechanics. For me, both of these types of mechanics are in my top 5 in my Hall of Fame. So it's kind of hard to distinguish which one more than the other. But for me, I think that the co-ops run into more problems personally. I don't play co-ops as solo games. So maybe that for you, that's more of a thing where you play a lot of co-op games like Mage Knight. You'll play that as a solo game.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't play that with other people.
Yeah, but it's technically a co-op game, right? Like
no, you're right. And Voidfall, like that's my number 1. I've played it with other people once, and I've played
Yes.
it by myself like 15 times.
Yeah. So that might lend itself more to you on that. For me, the multi-use cards, like I said, what makes gaming fun for me is the interesting decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So multi-use cards gives me the most interesting decisions, where co-op games, the interesting thing is the other people that you have around you, or the flexibility of like everyone has a goal that they're moving together towards. It's a cooperative game, obviously. So I'm going to go with multi-use cards because I think if I looked at my top 100 over the past 12, 13, 15, 20 years, like it's the multi-use cards for me.
I think it is for me too, which I'm surprised by.
Wow. I'm shocked.
I mean, I thought it would be co-op too, but like I'm looking through my list and I'm just reminding myself how many games have multi-use cards and how much I enjoy that, right?
Sure.
Because again, like I have a lot of great co-ops on my list as well. You mentioned Mage Knight, there's Voidfall, Spirit Island. But I think you make a good point in the sense that I do tend to play these by myself.
Sure.
I'm not really playing them in the pure co-op sense, and they tend to be the heaviest, most complicated co-op games out there. And the reason why I like them so much is because that co-op experience, as a solo experience, when it's that complicated, is entertaining.
Yes.
Like Mage Knight, I wouldn't actually play, and it has a competitive version, but it doesn't really matter. Same with Voidfall. The game is too long. I wouldn't play with 4 people. Like the most I would play either of those with is 2, maybe 3.
Sure.
And even then, it's just like, I don't know, the co-op version is probably a mess. Like, Spirit Island is probably the one exception there. I've played that game a lot with other people, especially when it came out. Like, that is one of the best games of all time, hands down. And it's pure co-op.
Sure.
But I think a lot of the time for me, the games that's not to say I don't love more pure co-op games. I've played plenty of them. But they're just not like the things that are on the top of my shelves right now. So multi-use cards, I skim through the list and I'm like, yeah, like half of these do that. Like, it's a mechanic that's very prevalent in Euro games, and it tends to be in the best ones because it gives you flexibility, it gives you interesting choices, it removes the situation in which you can't do a thing, which is my favorite thing in a game. Is here's a handful of cards. Am I always going to be able to do something with this? Am I always going to have options? And if the answer is no, I'm going to be less interested than if the answer is yes, even if some of those options aren't optimal. And that's what multi-use cards lets you do. So I agree with you.
Yeah, and again, I think the challenge here is, and I think it will differ with people. Like with a co-op game, you need a good group, because the weakest link in that game, like you said, when it comes to the heavier games, it's hard to control that. The multi-use cards is you as an individual play the cards to the best of your ability, but you always get to do a thing. Right. And a lot of times with card games, sometimes you don't get to do a thing. Multi-use cards, you can always do something.
Right.
Co-op games, someone doesn't understand, or someone makes a bad decision, or like, again, for all of us, and in the alpha gamer out there that's inside of all of us all at the same time, wants the group to do the thing because they've understood the game at a certain level or in a certain way, whether it's right or wrong. And they're like, why aren't you doing that? And then like, no, I'm going to do this. And you're like, and you have to be that kind of person in that kind of situation that you're okay with that, even if it may not be an optimal move.
Right.
For the greater of the group, but you want to win the game. So you play like Ghost Stories or something like that, which is a very hard game. And you're just trying to make the best decisions. You win and lose to get like it has the most variability of the ups and downs, like the brilliance of the final roll and everybody wins or everyone loses or everyone's going towards a single goal, or all the information's out there. So it's very easy to educate and teach and to, and again, cooperative actions in life is very positive and beneficial. But as far as a game mechanic is concerned, a multi-use cards gives me all of that wonder that the group would give me in a mechanic that I can control. I can't control the group, but I have wonder in that of all the different people and how they what they bring to the table. The card gives me all those wonder and different things that I can bring to the table in the cards.
Right.
And that's the thing that I'm just like, I won and lost based upon the things I did, but I can always do a thing. And I think you could play those heavier multi-use card games with like players who are new to them, and even if they don't win, they still did a thing. Like they could still do a thing. Whereas a co-op game, if you're not really knowledgeable of the game, you're just kind of in the back seat waiting for the card to be driven by somebody else.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I played Forest Shuffle the other day for the first time with several people, and I did fine, but a couple people were new, and it's just, and the woman teaching the game was just like, just do something.
Yeah.
Just pick a thing, one of the combos, and just do that, and you'll still have fun because it's a short game, and
Sure.
And they did have fun because you just focus on a couple things instead of trying to focus on all of the things, and that's what multi-use cards lets you do.
It's true. All right, well, there you go, everyone. Multi-use cards, the greatest game mechanic of all time, as said by us in a March Gamer Madness. Because
it seems right. I think it's right.
We did the research, we did the logic, we did the knowledge, we double checked our results, we rolled dice, which clearly is the way to do things.
Yep.
Anthony did lose all the dice rolls, so clearly it was meant to be
literally
this way.
all of them. How
how odd was that? Well, hopefully you get an opportunity to play multi-use card games. If you haven't, you absolutely positively should. Whether you're on the lighter game side or on more of the heavier game side, multi-use cards are used in so many different games. They're so much fun, and it's definitely something that if you are making games out there, please incorporate multi-use cards. And also, I cut you choose, because that's a
both.
thing that
Do both of them.
Do both in the same game. We would love that too.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Until next time, this is Chris.
Hey, and this is Anthony.
And we'll save you all a seat at the table. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Every hero strikes out on their adventure for a different reason.
To prove myself worthy of my mother's praise.
To write my own story and discover who I really am.
To prove to my family that I am more than they believe me to be.
To revive the god that has chosen me.
But when the fragile balance of the world is in jeopardy, and sinister forces move in the darkness, heroes will be tested, pushed to their limits and beyond. And it will be left to them to determine if they are up to the task. There is a darkness rising. Will they be able to overcome the challenges and meet this evil head-on?
For my god.
For my story.
For my freedom.
For the world.
To restore the balance. Modified Role Season 2, The Chronicles of Erin, a D&D 5e actual play podcast. New season, new characters, new story. Find us on all the usual podcasting apps or at modifiedrole.com.